So we are going to start with the continuity. In this, first we have the definition, what we mean by the continuity of a function. So here we have a function is said to be continuous at a particular point A. It could be any point when it is said to be continuous if limit x tends to a, fx is equal to fa. Till now we have learned that if we have a given function fx, how to calculate this limit. So when we are aware of how to calculate the limit, obviously we can find out the value of the function at a also if it is defined. And if limit x tends to a, fx is equal to fa, then it is said to be continuous. Correct? But again, there is a condition that the limit should exist and fa should exist, and then both of them should be equal. Okay? If this is not happening, then obviously it is said to be discontinuous, or we can say it is not a continuous function. And might be sometime it is not possible to define the continuity in the whole interval because of some of the points on which we cannot define the function, as we have seen an example where if you put some value if the expression, then it will lead to infinity. So in that cases, what we can do is we can say that might be the function is not continuous on the whole interval and it is piecewise continuous. Piecewise continuous means it is continuous in some range, then after again some range like this. Correct? So let us start with an example. Here we are saying fx is equal to x square minus 1 by x minus 1 is not continuous at x is equal to 1. Correct? It's not continuous, but what we can see here, that if we put limit x tends to 1, x square minus 1 by x minus 1 will give me the value as, here if we know regarding the formula. The electricity is off, so either I have to download the PPT and let me see if we can share it from here, or any one of you are having laptop, can you um, download the PPT and start with it, or try for it. Otherwise I'm going to out of the meeting, then I will just join back because we have to go for the presentation. Let me download it. Done. So I'm going to present my screen from the mobile, and let's see if it is comfortable to go through this. From beginning, let me start. Okay, but is it audible and visible? Then please let me know, because otherwise I have to switch through again and again through the slides. Is it audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Actually, I have downloaded the new PPT. So let me download the last class PPT to continue with the lecture. Just wait. Because this is I have uploaded today that I have just downloaded it. But are you getting the screen also? Hello? Anyone can let me know. Is my phone screen visible to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Because otherwise there will be no benefit. The lecture will be recorded, then I will only come to know what's going on. Okay, so let's start with this continuity, and let me rotate the screen so that the screen will be visible to you in a broad way. Okay. So we have done till continuity we have started, and we are saying here regarding the continuity definition that we have learned, the limit x tends to a, fx must exist and its value should be equal to the function value at that point. Correct? Here we have started with this example that here it is written fx is equal to x square minus 1 by x minus 1 is not continuous at x is equal to 1. So if we have to show see why it is not continuous, so we can say if limit is existing, then using the rule that we have learned xn minus a n by x minus a, what we can see is the value will be nx n minus 1, and that will give me the value of solution is 2. The limit is coming as 2, correct? But if I directly put the value of x as 1 in expression, it will give me 0 by 0. You know? So it means the limit is existing, but its value is not equal to f0. So we can say it is not existing, so it is not continuous at x is equal to a, correct? So this is how we can find out the function is continuous or not. Here we have the second example. We have to discuss the continuity of the given function, and we can see the function is defined for x greater than equal to 4 and for x less than 4. You know? And we have to discuss the continuity at x is equal to 4. So what it exactly means, whenever we are calculating the limits, till now we have learned just the simple limits, and we have written that limit x tends to a that we have to calculate. But whenever we are working for, actually we have the two limits, limit which is on left hand side known as left hand limit, and limit on the right hand side known as the right hand limit, correct? So here if you can see, we are talking about the two limits, right hand side and the left hand side. So here we have left hand side limit, the right hand side limit, and we are saying that limit will exist when these two limits are actually giving me the same value. Limit x tends to a minus must equal to limit x tends to a plus, means till now we have obtained directly, but in some of the problem where we have the things like greater than and less than, we can define the limits in two ways. So here we have calculated the limit in the two ways because it is a discontinuous function. For x less than 4 it is defined in some other way, and for x greater than equal to 4 it is defined in some other way. So first thing, for the continuity we need to calculate the value of the limit, correct? So if we go for limit, the left hand limit at x is equal to 4 is given by, now for left hand means when it is less than 4, so it is the value is 3x plus 4. And how we are going to substitute the value, here we have written limit x tends to minus 4 fx is equal to limit h tends to 0, and we are going to take 4 minus h. This is the standard notation when we are going for the less than or greater than. We are going to take a variable h, and we are assuming that h tends to 0. Instead of we are saying x tends to 4 with a negative sign, we are saying h tends to 0, and we are going to calculate the function value at 4 minus h. Correct? So this is how we are going to find out the value. So here if we substitute in place of x, here 4 minus h we have substituted, we are getting 3 into 4 minus h plus 7 because it is for the left hand side less than 4. And now if I put h tends to 0, we are getting the value as 19. 3 into 4, 12 plus 17 gives me 19. Similarly, for calculating the right hand limit, for the right hand limit we have limit x tends to 4 plus fx. So if we are going for limit x tends to 4 plus fx, then it is limit h tends to 0 f of h plus 4 or 4 plus h, whatever you are comfortable with, we can use it. And now we are substituting it the value in the function for x greater than equal to 4 which is given, correct? So now if we substitute 4 into 4 plus h plus 3, again it is giving me 19 as the value. So here we can see that both left hand limit and right hand limit is giving me the value as 19. So it means when left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, the value of the function is 19, and this is the limit value. And if we directly calculate f4, then f4, here we can see x greater than equal to 4 is giving me 4 into x plus 3. So directly if I put the value of x as 4, obviously it will give me 4 into 4, 16 plus 3, 19. correct? So this will give me f4 is equal to 19. It means we have the function which is continuous at x is equal to 4, correct? So this is what we have. Third example we have in front is, examine the continuity of this function fx is equal to sin x by 2 for x not equal to 0, which is 2 for x is equal to 0, and we are going to check it at x is equal to 0, correct? So we are looking for that is the limit existing, and if the limit is existing, is it value same as f0, correct? So here we can see for x is equal to 0, for x is equal to 0 we have the value as 2, and for x not equal to 0 means as limit x tends to 0, the value is given as sin x by x, correct? So if we calculate the value, what the value it will be, it gives me limit x tends to 0 sin x by x, that we need to calculate, but that value is actually 1, that we know through the formulas that we have already learned. The limit x tends to 0 sin x by x is 1. Okay, so this is what we have. So if the values are obviously not coinciding, so what we can say is, we can say the function is discontinuous at x is equal to 0. Correct? It means we need to find out the value of the limit. We have to find out the value of the function at that point, and then if the value of the function and the limit both coincide, then at that particular point the function is continuous. Correct? So I think this is the end of the continuity, because as such the continuity is not in our course. So what we are going to do now is we are going to start with the next unit. And as the next unit what we have is, we are going to have the next unit of the calculus, next part of the unit as the differentiability, means we are going to learn about the differentiability, that the function is differentiable or not. So that is the next part. So I am again presenting from my desktop. I have stopped from my phone. Just wait. So we are going to start with this calculus part, in which we have the differentiability as the next topic. So today we have learned what is limit, and we have finished with the concept of continuity, means when we are just calculating the value of the function at a given point, that is what the limit means. And when we are calculating the value and comparing it with the function, that the value of the function is same as the limit at the particular point, then the function is continuous. Now let's see what differentiability means. Here we are saying a function is said to be differentiable at a point if, here we have now again the concept of x tends to 0. As we have seen in the concept of the limit also, we have taken left hand and right hand limit. So here also we are saying regarding limit x tends to 0, if f of a plus h minus fa by h, if this limit as a whole expression, if we calculate, if limit of this whole expression exists, then the function is called as differentiable at a particular point, and the derivative is denoted by f dash a, correct? Or what we can say, a function is differentiable at x. Here we are talking about the point A. Function is differentiable at a point A. We are talking about a specific point A. Sorry. Now we are saying function is differentiable at x if limit delta x tends to 0, f of x plus del x is minus fx divided by del x exists. If it just exists, then we will say it is differentiable and denoted by f dash of x. Now what is this del? It is just a small increment in the value of x. Correct? And normally if we talk about the differentiability or the derivative of a function, then obviously we are never going to this definition because some of the values are already known to us using these formulas. Means now if I talk about what is the derivative of x cube, so obviously you will give me the answer 3x square. So what the value is coming from a formula that we have learned that derivative of xn is nxn minus 1. But actually from where it is coming? It is coming from these formulas which are the base of the differentiability. So we have already learned some of the values as a formulas. Correct? So if we talk about if y is equal to fx, we denote the derivative as dy by dx or f dash x. If y is equal to fx, we can write down f dash x or dy by dx, which is also represented by y dash of x. Correct? Now, what we can say regarding the differentiability and continuous relation. So, a function which is differentiable is always continuous. It means if I have checked the differentiability of a function and it is existing, then there is no need to check regarding the continuity because obviously the function should be continuous. But every continuous function is not differentiable. Correct? No, why not differentiable? Might be the limit is not existing at a particular point for which it is continuous. So that's the reason why a continuous function is not always differentiable. And here we have been provided with the value that if fx is equal to mod x, which is equal to minus x for x less than 0 and x for greater than equal to 0, we have learned about the modulus function. So if we talk about this modulus function, it is continuous. That if limit x tends to 0 we calculate, then obviously the value will be 0. But it is not differentiable at x is equal to 0. Now why it is not differentiable? Obviously you have to do it. We have not done with the proof, it is just a statement. So what we have to do, we have to calculate what is the value for limit h tends to 0, f of a plus h minus fa by h, and then you have to observe why it is not coming differentiable, why it is not satisfying this, that the limit is existing. Correct? So here you can learn this example as a counterexample to give that whenever there is a statement to be proved, that prove that a continuous function is differentiable and a differentiable function is continuous and every continuous function need not to be differentiable. Okay, so you can show it with the help of example. So now we have some of the formulas directly that we have learned. Here they have shown also the proof in your books, the proofs are also there, but actually there is no need because it is very rarely asked. If you are aware of regarding the rules and regulation, then you can do it at the same time also. Correct? So here if we see, if y is equal to xn, and what is the derivative? We know, as we have talked about this example, that the value is nxn minus 1, and this we can calculate with the formula like this: limit delta x tends to 0, x plus del x raised to power n minus xn divided by x plus del x minus x. So if we solve it as a whole, then we will get the formula nx n minus 1. Correct? So directly we used to apply this rule that if y is represented as x raised to power n, what is nx n minus 1? This is the derivative. Correct? So here if we see for x7, n is 7, so we have written 7x6. For minus 4, n is minus 4, so we have written minus 4x minus 5. For 9 by 4, it's x raised to power 9 by 4 minus 1 into 9 by 4. So these are direct substitutions where we have done, and obviously we are getting the values. Okay? So I'm not emphasizing more. If we know the formula that y is equal to xn, we are finding out the derivative of x raised to power n. Obviously it is nx n minus 1. Correct? Now what is the value for derivative of log x? it is 1 by x. Again, the proof is here in front of you. If you want, you can go through it. Otherwise, directly you have to go through it, that if y is equal to log x, the derivative is 1 by x. If y is equal to ax means any constant number raised to power x, then its value is ax as such. This ax will come as such, multiplied by log a with base e. Correct? So this is what we have, and here in particular we have that if y is equal to ex, means if we have a case, then in place of a we are saying it is raised to power of x, e raised to power x, then what will be the value? We will get log ex into log e with base e, and by substituting a as e, this is what we will leads to log e with base e, and this log e with base e will give me the value as 1, that we are already aware of, that log n with base n is 1. Okay? So this is what we are getting, that the derivative of ex is ex. So this is also a formula. So we have learned three formulas: y is equal to xn, then we have the derivative as xn minus 1. If y is equal to log x, we have the value as 1 by x of the derivative. And for y is equal to a raised to power x, we have the value as, sorry, ax log a with base e. And for ex, it is ex. Correct? So let's start with the more formulas. Direct away we have, if y is equal to sine x, here we have the whole formulas given, that how you have to solve. You have to take limit delta x tends to 0, sine of x plus delta x minus x by del x. So here we have applied then after the rule of sine c minus sine d. Okay, Shivani, beta, is it audible? Look, wait, let me close the door. Might be, it will help us. Now you can check if my voice is coming. Sure, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's continue. Here we have y is equal to sine x. So either I can remember the value directly, or what we can do is we can just go through the proof also, because it depends upon the examiner what they are asking for. No? So it's better that at least one time you have to do by your own hand. Regarding the formula is so easy that you can go through it, and in between wherever required we are using some of the other required formulas. As here we can see, here if we have the limit del x tends to 0, sine of x plus del x minus sine x by del x. So here we have applied the formula sine c minus sine d is equal to twice cos c plus d by 2 sine c minus d by 2, and this del x as such in the denominator. Correct? So here we have, on simplification, we are getting the value of cos of x plus del x by 2. Here you can see it's giving me 2x by 2, that's x plus del x by 2. And similarly for sine, we are getting sine of x will cancel out x, sine of del x by 2 divided by this del x. And we know what is the limit of this sine of del x by 2 divided by del x by 2. If here occur, then it will give me 1. So what we have done is we have taken this 2 divided for the division in the denominator as del x by 2. So finally this is giving me the value as 1. And if I take limit del x tends to 0 in the first expression, this will give me cos of x plus 0 means cos x. So here we have a misprint. The answer is finally coming as cos x. The derivative of sin x is cos x. Derivative of cos x is minus of sin x. And whenever we are talking about derivative of a constant term, then it is 0. Correct? So these are the formulas that actually you have to learn as such. Means what is the derivative of xn, what is the derivative of log x, ax, sin x, cos xn, obviously a constant, means any of the number if it is existing, what is the derivative. Correct? So these are the formulas. Here also the same thing has been written in the listed form. We can go through it. And now we have the rules to find out the derivative. So let me stop to take the attendance. I know that some of you are just waiting for attendance. Huh? That when the attendance will be over, we are going to leave the meeting. Because I have observed that some of you are doing like this. Chale. Half of hour I have stopped you, but not more than this. It's your wish to be here or not. Let me complete with the attendance task. Because normally at 12:34 we have 7 to 8 students, means total 10 including me. And today we are 15. Chale. Let's start with Sahil.
Present, ma'am.
And why still not here? Huh? Mhm. Gagandeep was here. I've seen
Present,
him.
ma'am.
Ji. Sanjeev,
Present, ma'am.
Raghunath, Hamid,
Present, ma'am.
Bhumi, Hona is here.
Present, ma'am.
Ji. Subhadeep, Sumit,
Yes, ma'am.
Ji. Subhadeep is also, I think, here. Subhadeep, Sumit, Umesh,
Yes, ma'am.
Antarpreet,
Present, ma'am.
Tanushri,
Present, ma'am.
and Shahbaz Singh. Shahbaz is also here. So Raghunath has left the meeting. He's here. Okay. I think Raghunath is not here. Okay. So I will mark the attendance. In just 2 3 minutes, let me see if might be problem is there in the network, or if he has not joined. I think he has joined. Is it anyone has seen Raghunath's connection? Means he has connected or not?
Ma'am, he was here.
He was there, no? So let me wait. Might be he will come back. Might be
Yes,
sometime
ma'am.
Yes,
Hmm.
problem. You got disconnected, and sometime you go by yourself. Huh? Chale. So about all of you are here till 12:34. After that, how many of you are going to left? I am not sure. Chale, let's start with the rules to find derivative. Then how to find out derivative of a function. So here direct away. Again, I am not going to the whole discussion how to find it out. We have to follow what the rule is. So we have the first as a sum rule. So here let's concentrate upon what the main points are. That if we have a function given by y is equal to u plus v. If we have y is equal to u plus v and u and v are the functions of x, we have been provided y is equal to u plus v and uv both are the function of x, and we are looking for the value of dy by dx. Then how to find out? It is just we have the derivative to calculate with respect to x for u, with respect to x for v, and we have to sum them up. Y is equal to u plus v, the derivative of y with respect to x is equal to du by dx plus dv by dx. And similarly, if something is coming in the negative, then dy by dx is equal to du by dx plus dv by dx, which is positive. And if something is coming in the negative, obviously its derivative has to be subtracted. So minus dw by dx. Right? So as we have done normal addition and subtraction, we have to calculate the derivatives and we have to add and subtract them. Right? So here we have an example that if we have expression like y is equal to x6 plus sin x minus cos x, then what is the derivative? You know? So in order to find out the derivative, what we will do, just apply d by dx on both of the sides of the expression. This is the simplest way to do. Whatever is written, write on d by dx of all the terms and in between addition or subtraction which is being given to us. So here we have d by dx of s6, d by dx of sin x and minus d by dx of cos 6. So if you remember the formula for x6, it is 6x5. For sin x, it is cos x, and for cos x, it is minus of sin x. So minus minus will give me plus. So this is the final answer. Correct. Similarly, if we have this expression, again, all the expression derivative we have just learned. So it's very simple that if we take what is the derivative of y with respect to x, so it is derivative of 3x. For derivative of ax, we have learned ax log a. So here we have a as 3, so it is 3x log 3 with base e. For log ex, it is 1 by x, and for constant, it is always 0. Correct? So this is how we have the derivative. Next is a product rule. Product rule is saying that if we have v u into v, means we are getting an expression of y which is a product of the two functions. Both are the function of x. So how to find it out? Here we have if y is equal to u into v, then dy by dx is equal to u into derivative of v plus v into derivative of u. Correct? So this is the formula we have. We have to go for the first function into derivative of the second plus the second function into derivative of first. Means it depends upon that whenever the function is complex written in the product form, so we can choose u and v and want to find out the derivative of the parts. Means first we will take u as a constant, find out the derivative of v, then we will take v as a constant, find out the derivative with respect to u, and then sum them up. So this is the product formula. And in the product formula, obviously if we have a constant, so what is happening, it will not matter if y is equal to k into v, k will be just outside, which is not a function of x, because the product rule will be followed when we have a function of x, when both are the function of x. If one of them is constant, then obviously constant will remain as such, and we'll find out the derivative of the remaining part. Okay? And might be if the function is not easy to write down in the two parts, we can write it down in the form of three formulas, three parts as uvw, and then we can take two terms together and the derivative of the third one. So here we see if it is uvw, so the derivative of y can be calculated as uv into derivative of w, then u and w, the derivative with respect to v, and similarly vw into derivative of u. So this is how we are getting the product rule for the derivatives. Correct? So here we have direct away examples. If y is equal to x3 by 2 into sin x, so obviously it seems easily that these are the two functions, x3 by 2 into sin x. So what we are going to do, the first function as such, if we take x3 by 2, I'm going to write down derivative of sin x plus next time sin x as such and the derivative of x3 by 2. And then by writing out the values and adding them, we will find out the answer. So easy. It seems easy, but when we will do the things, then we will come to know about the real complexity, because here we are just learning and I'm just dictating the things which are there in the PPT. But whenever you have to do and the functions are obviously simple, then it is really very easy if you are aware of the formulas. If they are not so easy and looking like the complex things are coming, then obviously you need some of the patience to do the work, but ultimately you will find out the answer by using the same formula. Correct? So let's start with the next example. Y is equal to 8 of cos x. So 8 is a constant, so it doesn't matter. 8 will remain as such, and we have to write down the derivative of cos x, which is minus of sin x. Correct? As a third example, we have the three terms ex, sin x, and log x, and we are aware of how to find out the derivative of ex, the derivative of sin x and log x. So what we have to do is, one by one, we will take the derivative of one of the term and write down others as such. So here in the first we have taken ex sin x and derivative of log x. So derivative of log x is coming as 1 by x. Directly you can see from here to here. Second time we have taken log x and ex as such, and derivative of sin x is written as cos x. correct? And the third time we have sin x and log x as such, and we know the derivative of ex is also ex, so we are getting the third term as sin x into log x into ex. So just you have to think over it, which type of question is coming, how to find out the derivative, and derivatives are really easy and actually the base of each and everything involved in the calculus. Today let's start with the next one. The next one is the quotient rule. What the quotient rule is, when y can be written as the division of two functions, and again the functions are of x, and we are intended to find out the derivative of y with respect to x. So how to find out? Here we have the straightaway rule that whatever the denominator part is, we have to make it square. Means if it is u by v, let me write it down. What we will write down? V square. This is according to numerator, denominator they have written. Denominator square means V square in the denominator. And then we have this denominator as such into derivative of numerator. It means we will write down V into derivative of u. Let me represent it by u dash. It's easy to write down here. So V as such, whatever the numerator part, denominator part is, and then into derivative of numerator minus u as such into derivative of the v dash. Correct? So this is how we remember that if a function is u by v, then we have v into u dash minus u into v dash divided by v square. Correct? And if again one of the function is constant, no? If a denominator is constant, obviously it will come out as such, and the numerator function we will evaluate normally. If the numerator is a constant, as here we can say k, and denominator is v, then what happens? Again, k will remain outside, and it will become derivative of this v inverse. No? And if you talk about v inverse, means minus it work as x raised to power n, we go for nx n minus 1, so here it will come as minus of v minus 2 and the derivative of v with respect to x dv by dx. It means first we have obtained what we can write down for 1 by v, and then we have the final answer. Correct? So this is what we have to do for the quotient as a quotient rule, or when we have the formula given for u by v. So these are all the rules for finding out the derivatives. Either we are getting the product form, the quotient form, or the normal one. So here if we see what's going on, let's start with an example. Here we have an example of the p by q form. So either you can go for it, but here actually it is just for verification. If we directly go for what is the derivative of 10x, then derivative of 10x, we can remember it also as a sec square x. Correct? So here how to solve it? We know 10x is sin x by cos x. So if we have to find out, we can take cos x square in the denominator, then denominator term into the derivative of the numerator, means cos x into derivative of sin x minus of sin x into derivative of cos x. So finally it will give me cos x into derivative of sin x, which is cos x. Sin x into derivative of cos x means minus sin x. That gives me this cos square x plus sin square x, which is actually 1 by cos square x. So if we go for it, it leads to the value of sec square x. Correct? So from here we can learn that if y is equal to 10x, then its derivative is sec square x, or derivative of 10x is sec square x. This is how we pronounce it. Similarly, if we talk about the derivative of sec x, how to go for it? For sec x, we can write it down that sec x is equal to 1 by cos x. Now again we implement the quotient rule. So according to that, we have cos square x. Here we can see we have cos square x, and as we have seen here that we have talked about, if we have k by v, then it is minus k by v square into the derivative of v. So there is no need to go for this formula, because already this has been done for the special case when it is coming in the denominator. as v. So here if you go through it, here we have that we can write it down as minus of 1 by v square into the derivative of v. It means minus 1 by cos square x into the derivative of cos x. Obviously, if you are not aware of this, then you can go through the whole, you can say, the rule. Obviously, it will also lead to the same thing. But as we have just done and we are aware of the formula, so we have directly done it. It is equal to minus of 1 by v square into dv by dx. And what is the derivative of cos x? Minus sin x. So it is giving us the value of minus and minus gives me plus sin x by cos square x. So here we have cos square. So this will lead to 1 by cos x into sin x by cos x by putting cos x into cos x for cos square x. And we know sin x by cos x is 10x. So what the final one is, 1 by cos x written as sec x, and sin x by cos x is 10x. So from here we can see that the derivative of sec x is sec x into 10x. Yes. So let's see another one. If we have y is equal to cos x, what is the derivative? I know that these all the formulas should to be remembered for you. It's must that whenever we are looking for the differentiability, all the trigonometry formulas where we are concerned regarding the derivative should also be learned as such, because it is to be used and implemented wherever required in the whole course. So let's go for that. What is the derivative of cosec x? Again, we have to go for the rule. If it is 1 by v, then the formula is saying minus 1 by v square into derivative of v. So it is minus 1 by sin square x into derivative of sin s cos x. So again, if we simplify it, it becomes cos x by sin x into 1 by sin x. That gives me cosec x into cot x. So here we have the derivative of cosec x as minus of cosec x into cot x. Correct? So this is the derivative of sec x, cot x that we have just learned. Correct? Next we have is a chain rule. Function of a function rule means how we will find out the derivative of a function which is already a function of some value. Correct? So according to me, let me see how much part is left and let's stop for the timing. No, I think only 3 slides are there, so let us continue so that tomorrow we can start with the next PPT. Okay. So here let's see what the thing is. Here we are saying the chain rule as if y is equal to a function of u and u is already a function of x, means actually till now we have obtained dy by dx. Here also we are finding out the derivative of y with respect to x, but y directly is a function of u and u is also a function of x. So here we have function of a function. So how to find it out? Here we are saying that in that case we can find out dy by dx as by finding out derivative of y with respect to u and then derivative of u with respect to x, because y is a function of u, so easily we can write down y derivative with respect to u. That gives me dy by du, and u is a function of x, so we can find out du by dx. And you can see also here, if I just simplify it, it will give me dy by dx. And similarly for the 3 functions, if we have that y is a function of x, u is a function of v, and v is a function of x. So how we can write down? I think again there is a mistake. It must be fu. No? Otherwise there will be no chain. Here what we are saying, y is a function of u is a function of v, and v is a function of h. So one thing is a function of another one. So here, in order to find out the derivative of y with respect to x, we can find out y with respect to u with respect to v, and with respect to x. So this is how we can find out the derivatives by the chain rule. So here we have an example that if y is equal to ax square plus bx plus c raised to power n. How to solve it? Here in order to solve, we have taken let this whole expression is u, so y is coming as function of u only. You can see y is written in terms of u only, and we know it's easy that y derivative with respect to u is using the formula nu n minus 1. But what we need is we need derivative with respect to x. So what we can do, we need the derivative of u with respect to x, which is actually a function of x. So du by dx will give me 2ax plus b. So on multiplying the 2 dy by du into du by dx, we can write down the value of dy by dx. So this is what the chain rule is when the function is written as a function of another expression. Similarly here, we have y a function of log of this. Actually, when we start doing differentiating, always we are taking the substitution. But if we have practiced enough that directly you can do that, if we have to find out the derivative of log of this, then just in our mind it will come something is there. So we will take out derivative of log means 1 by something. If it is log of m, and we are finding out the derivative, it will be 1 by m. So it is 1 by this whole expression. And then after we have the derivative of the inner expression. So if we find out the derivative, it gives me 3x square minus 4x. So this is the whole value, and the same thing you can do by taking this as u, finding out dy by dx as dy by du into du by dx. So it is actually the same thing. This is dy by du and this is du by dx. But when we have practiced enough, you know the rule as such that the whole thing should not be represented, but yes, it is to be done directly. Similarly here, for the derivative of this, we have taken derivative of sine of something is cos of something, the whole expression, and then internal expression has to be found out for the derivative. So it is coming as 4x plus 4. 2x square will give me 4x and this 4x will give me 4. So this is the final answer. And whenever we are writing out the trigonometric term along with other terms, we try to write down the other expressions on the starting and then after the trigonometric terms. Right? So here also we have the same thing. We have y as 10 square minus, x square minus 1 by x square plus 1, the tan of this function. So here what we have, again we can take this as u. We can write down y is equal to 10u, u is equal to this, then find out the derivative and hence find out the final answer. Here I am not explaining it. You have to at least work it out and find out how you are doing this, because if you are able to do, then it's fine. If you are not able to do, you have to ask me or you can go for the discussion. Okay? So this is regarding the derivatives that we have done today. So we have done till now regarding the limit, continuity and differentiable.